Hello and welcome back. This is MC1 Gamer with another battle report for Mordheim with my Dwarven Treasure Hunters, Thigvald's Banhammers. Now, after last game, I had gotten a Halfling cookbook, which allowed me to take an extra Warband member on, so I chose to take a clansman, and I broke them out into 3 individual groups rather than double them up like I've done with my Beardlings and my 2 Thunder groups, because I wanted to have a greater chance to get the Lads Got Talent bonus, because I need some more characters, and the Treasure Hunters only start with 4 characters, and a number of the other warbands allow you to start with more than that, with 5 or even the full 6. But I'm up against 2 veterans of Mordheim, which you can see on this board. It's going to be a 3 versus 3. It's not, well, 3 for all, 3 warbands. So one of them is the topmost warband team, somebody who's been on my channel a number of times as an opponent in some of the campaigns. I've had battled with him with just some standard games, and he's playing the Carnival, so you've probably seen the Carnival. He's sitting around 290 plus on his rating, and he's kind of scary. And you'll see shortly that he's got one of those carts. He's got it's a death cart. I think it's pulled by 2 skeletal horse. It's got it's unkillable by the Mordheim rules, basically, because it's like toughness 8, and I guess unless you've leveled up like a vampire to strength 7 and you have a a great weapon or any other skills, early part of a campaign, nobody's going to be able to wound this thing. You can shoot it and force it to go out of control, and I'm going to try to do that because it slows it down and prevents it from doing anything. But this thing is, in my opinion, way overpowered, because a lot of the shots go against the rider. You can't kill the rider, so it's it bounces off and doesn't do anything. If you hit the horse, you're not killing this thing from shooting. You may just it may convenience it a little bit, and if it runs into you, you're going to get mowed down because it's a chariot. So what he does is he usually uses it as a mobile piece of terrain and screens his guys as they move in or move across the board. And I'm really worried about that plank right there, which will allow him to move into my area, my section of the battlefield. He can't go up and down the ladders with the thing, which is not, which is good, but I've got to defend that plank. So I do have one benefit from the last game that I carried over. I was able to pick and choose my board side. Something that I had rolled up with the doubles or the triples that I had rolled. So I was able to pick and choose this corner. Same board as the last game that I had played, but just this corner, and I like this corner because there's really just one main way in, and I've got a good couple of perches for shooting. So on the very upper part of the battlefield he's got about 4 games in, I think, but I think he's around a warband rating of about maybe 160 or 170. Is a undead group. So we got a vampire with a couple of hounds, a bunch of zombies, dregs, ghouls. This is all unpainted. This is actually the guy who I faced in my final game in a Warhammer tournament locally. He had played High Elves, and I was playing my Nagash Legions of Chaos. Legions of Undead. And he also won the last year Spring Mordheim campaign, which is run by one of the managers of the store, and he won this warband, but I guess a year later he hasn't painted it. But it are all like Reaper miniatures, but it was a full-on undead warband, which I think is awesome. So this is going to be an interesting battle. I decide to not be aggressive like I usually am. There's just too many bodies, and I believe that all the fighting is probably going to coalesce in that central area there. So I decide to take it back a notch. I don't usually like to play just a stand back and shoot type of a thing with the Dwarves, which is very easy to do because they're very good at it. I've been tooling up at least half my warband to be more close combat effective, but I don't want to overextend myself. If you do, you're going to get swarmed, and if I get double teamed by these guys, I'm going to get wiped out. I'm going to be routed very quickly. So this is where my setup is. I've got 3 nice buildings that I can actually put some guys in. I have both of my slayers in hiding with 2 clansmen and a beardling behind that wall. I figure anybody who comes across that bridge is going to have a bad day. Anybody who tries to approach that bridge, I'm going to shoot at. If they try to come through the canals, that's probably their best bet. There's a bunch of ladders that allow people to come, go down and up. But if that happens, I'll be able to deal with that. I have my dwarf noble on the lower left with one beardling, and I want to be able to shoot off to the rear side of anybody who, or at least detect them, get them out of, if they're hiding behind, say, that chariot or anything else. Just give an option for any of my shooters to be able to notice somebody if I'm able to break that 180 degree plane. Plus, if anybody tries to sneak around this back part, I've got some hand-to-hand guys, and I'm not terribly far where I can't move some reinforcements in. So here's my opponent with the scary chariot. He mashed this chariot up, and I think he did a very good job of it. I think it's a combination of either the Harcanum model and some Chaos horse, and I don't know what that thing is on top, but it's scary. I don't think this thing is great if you charge it, but if it gets to you, it's phenomenal, and it's just hard to kill. So he uses it as a screen. He's got a bunch of characters, and here's the thing about this Carnival group. He's got all his characters, I think four of his characters have Nurgle's Rot. So there's a chance that if he gets into combat, he's going to rot you. If you're rot, you're done. He's pretty much, you might as well just give up that character, because it could spread throughout the rest of your warband. It's probably the most feared skill in the entire game, and I don't want to be anything to do with it. So, but he's got a couple guys who have skilled up heavily. They've got a bunch of attacks, and then I think he has one or two that have Frenzy. Whatever the story is, he's got a charge range on, I think, 4 of his characters of like 12 inches, which is amazing because the best charge range I have, and that can't be improved with dwarves, is 6 inches. Here's the vampire count, the undead. So, very interesting army. I think he's got a very similar build to the build that I had in my undead army. Unfortunately, it's not painted. Guys who like painted, all those people who are make comments about that on the videos, please, I can't control other people's armies. So he's got about 5 of the of his zombies, expendables. He can bring them back. He's got a couple of dregs. I think they all have bows. A couple, I think, have two-handed weapons. I think he's got 2 ghouls. Those are guys off to the left. He's got a necromancer with the spell that if you lose a character permanently, if it gets knocked out of action, he can get him back instantaneously. It's an auto. So he'll get him back and he'll get added to his warband, and whatever skills it had, he'll have. Whatever bonuses or power-ups. He can't skill up any further, but it's part of his group. He can add it to his zombie horde, which is amazing and kind of sucky too. But hey, if you're going to lose a character, you've already lost him. But he gets a nice benefit of that. If it's knocked out of action permanently, he can add to his ranks. So he's got a vampire and two hounds that are just behind this building here, he gets turn 1. So he starts marching down this bridge. Single file with his zombies in tow, and he moves his vampire and the dogs off to the right, and then next turn goes to the Carnival of Chaos. So he moves out his chariot and screens some of his henchmen and heroes behind that chariot, so I can't shoot at them at this point. And he moves everybody else into this building. There's a couple windows, so I could see through the windows, but since they're all hiding, I guess they're all laying down on the floor, I'm not able to shoot at them at this point. So that's pretty smart by my opponent. He's very good at using terrain. My turn comes, I take a couple of shots off, and the only thing I can see is this chariot. I'm out of range for everything from the undead, and, I'm hoping that I can at least do some damage or maybe slow this thing down. The only way to really do it is to knock it out of control, and that just is a roll where it's very hard to destroy this thing permanently. I think you have to roll like a 6 and then another 6. So it's doable, but it's very unlikely. And then maybe it would get destroyed. It's nearly impossible. So we get back to the undead. He starts continuing to march his army across that bridge, and then his wolves, which can move at a clip of 9, they can charge at 18, are moving up with his vampire. Now his vampire can really boogie, but he's coming across the canals out of shooting range. I think I could see maybe with a couple of shooters those dogs, but I'm surprised that he actually doesn't have the dogs in front. But I guess it's because they can't march. So we get back to the Carnival player, and again he's able to just slightly move up his card. He can't do a full move, and all of his guys move out of the building and are protecting themselves behind the cart. Some of the guys that he had behind the cart initially moved into that white plastic card building more towards the upper center, and he's hiding with them. But I can see a couple of these guys. I think a few of them are not hiding. So I take a couple shots from my tower. When you're playing Mordheim with all the cover rules and the ability to hide, you really got to be careful. You really got to check all your fields of view. This one guy was completely within view, and all the guys right behind him to the right of this chariot to my tower. I could see them full body, right down to the base, without any cover. So I was able to pluck off an arrow. I missed with just about everything else, but my engineer was able to knock this guy. I think I knocked him down. I may have stunned him, I'm not sure. So we get to Undead. He moves his vampire right behind the wall here, right before the stairs, and moves up his direwolves. I think I had taken some shots on the direwolves that were exposed, but failed to either hit or wound. Now he's moving these guys on the left-hand side of this board up more towards the center. So this is from the opposite vantage of my previous battle report, so it's interesting to see from this point. He's got a couple of ghouls again off to the left and a bunch of screening zombies, some dregs, and his necromancer. But this long charge by the Carnival, who comes in next, comes right out from this building and just, all the zombies start intercepting, which is fine. That's what they're meant for. But what a long charge, 12-inch charge. And so he moves further up his chariot. Again, look at how many guys he can screen. And from what I understand, he can put 6 guys into the chariot. So he can move them along with 6 dudes sitting in the chariot as well. That's just awful. I don't know what the rules are for entering or exiting. It's got to be some kind of an inhibition. So, hand-to-hand combat. One of the jesters knocks out of action one of the zombies. Another zombie gets knocked down. And then we move to my turn. So I start taking shots. Again, all of my characters, with the exception of the Slayers, have pistols at the very least. If they don't have crossbows, they have pistols. And some of them have double pistols. So I start shooting at the chariot. Again, I hit the chariot and do some damage. I think it may not be able to move next turn, or it's going to be inhibited again. But again, I can't kill this thing. So another one of my Thunders takes a shot, and again, there's only so many guys he can fit, and fortunately I have my troops fanned out well enough, and I take a bead on one of his. This is one of his heroes. He's got 2 heroes there. These are the guys who I think are mostly the painted ones, or the heroes. And one of them is got multiple attacks too, which is really scary. I do not want to face the guy in the hat, apparently, because I think he's got like 4 attacks, or maybe he's the 8-attack frenzy guy. I don't know. So I'm able to stun one of his heroes. I take another shot with another one of my Thunderers. I was able to see right through the cart. This one was with cover. Again, I was able to stun him. And then the Undead turn. The vampires, he moves his 2 dogs and his vampire right up behind this hedgerow, similar to what I did in my previous game, but they're able to hide. He has enough move that he's able to do that. This is not good. I need to be able to see these guys, because if I don't do something about them, in his next turn he's going to charge whoever he wants. The Undead start charging in with others to start swarming the Carnival. So you can see a couple of ghouls swarmed but were intercepted by this clown. The Jesters got charged by several of, I think it was 2 dregs and a zombie. That Jester gets knocked out of action. The knocked down zombie was also knocked out of action, so they're trading off, which is thinning out the ranks. This is all good for me. Another zombie gets knocked down by one of the Jesters. And then the fight in the center, the ghoul that charged, I think it was one of his henchmen. I think they get 2 attacks, the ghouls, was able to take him out of action. So there's some casualties occurring. All I need to do is get these guys to the point where they start rolling for routing, and if they can do some damage to each other, that benefits me tremendously. So the Carnival turn, he starts charging in with his Jesters. One of his Jesters focuses in on his necromancer, and then he charges 2 of his other, I don't know if they're henchmen or if they were characters. I think these are characters, these guys in the armor, in to kind of deal with kind of blocking up anybody who was able to do any kind of charging. So the zombie that was knocked down, he was able to have some attacks allocated against him. He was automatically knocked out of action. So his Necromancer, he's not a hand-to-hand combatant, and this Jester knocks him square on his back. My turn comes. Now, I know that he's not moving. I know that my opponent's not moving very quickly towards me with the Carnival group, but I see that the Vampire is off to my right, so I need some reinforcements. Now, I intended to leave my Dwarf Noble and this Beardling off to the side, because as that cart, if it potentially came up further towards the bridge, I'd be able to see the guys behind it break their ability to hide and then shoot and take a bunch of them out. But being that that's happening at a much slower pace, and now I've got a big threat right up on me, I need to move these guys closer. So I need to move some of these guys within range that I can get somebody with a lantern to be able to spot them. All my heroes have lanterns, so those Slayers have lanterns. But the rest of these guys are henchmen. So I move up so that I can intercept with my Clansmen and my Beardling, but I'm just able to get within range, to get within 6 inches, and I was able to spot the Vampire and the Direwolves, which is great, because that's the benefit of having a lantern. So now I have the ability to shoot at them, because they can't hide. So I start plucking off crossbows. Thunder takes out one of his Direwolves, which is great, because even though he's got another Direwolf left, I need to start thinning him out and just isolate this Vampire. It's the only way I'm going to take him out. And then it's the Undead turn, and of course, he has to go for broke. He has to charge. I think this was a bit of a mistake. He might have been better off retreating at this point, but he's taking a lot of losses down center, and I think he's just taking, hoping that he can take a couple guys with him, and then he can rout on his own. But he charges in, and with my intercepting, I'm able to put a Beardling on his Vampire. I'm probably going to lose that horribly, and a Clansman gets charged by the Direwolf. So, back towards the center with the big combat between the Carnival and the Undead, sees the Ghoul taking out another one of the henchmen of the Carnival, and there's a charge to try and help out the Necromancer with a couple of the Dregs, this is not going well for either of my opponents. They're losing bodies. But I think the person who's probably losing the most right now is the Undead, and that's fine with me. But the Necromancer gets taken down. Then our combat occurs, and of course, we knew this was going to happen. My Beardling gets knocked out of action by the Vampire. But now he's completely isolated, and now I have a decision. When my turn comes around, do I just try to shoot at the Vampire and shoot? I have a lot of shooting. I think I have 5 or 6 guys, and then pistols for anybody who's not already in combat. Do I just take my chances and try to shoot and kill him that way, or do I charge in with both of my Slayers and that Clansman? I'm not going to make it with my Noble and that other Beardling. So we get towards the center, and Carnival goes next, and he charges in with his remaining guys. So he's double teaming that Ghoul, and he moves up his chariot onto the bridge. Now this is serious, because now this chariot is going to be able to charge, certainly going to be able to charge anybody I have in combat with that Vampire. So if I go all in against the Vampire, that chariot is going to wreck me, and I'm a little concerned, a little bit scared about that. So I've got to do something about this chariot. Plus, he's got all these guys. Now, they're all out in the open. They're not hiding, except for the guy in the hat. And that guy in the hat, again, I understand that guy's scary. There's also one more of his heroes sitting in the woods, which I did not even see until further successive turns. But so he's, the only good thing is that he's bottlenecking that bridge. Nobody's getting across that bridge with that chariot right now where it is. So that gives me an option as well, but it's a risky one. So we go to close combat, and he takes out that last Ghoul and knocks down another one of the zombies. And he loses. Well, he doesn't lose, but he's one of his henchmen is knocked down as well by one of the dregs. And then we come into my turn. I decided, you know what, I've got to take some chances. I need to hold up that chariot. The chariot's not great in combat if you charge it. You can't take it out, but you can lock it up. And that was, I think, where the mistake my opponent made. I took my Clansman and charged him into the chariot. Now, that's one brave Clansman, but I am fine with losing him if I need to. I'm going to get attacked first. I'm probably not going to do much. But if I could survive, if the one attack he has back, I don't think the horses attack, I think he gets one attack by the actual rider. If I could survive that, then he won't be able to charge me in following turns. So I put the 2 Slayers into the Vampire. I just had to. I decided this was, one Slayer going into the Vampire and maybe the second Slayer going into the chariot would probably not be a good idea. But I need to kill this vampire. If I could take this vampire out, and it's probably going to take both of my slayers to do it. If I lose one slayer, I've got one left. But if I can finish off this vampire, I can lock up at least the undead. Maybe he'll rout, but I can at least reduce him as a threat. And then whoever survives can go after that chariot. So I move up with my Beardling and my Dwarf Lord. I have another clansman that moves in to try and help. And then I start opening up with shooting. There's all those guys who are on the other side of the bridge, not in cover. I need to start thinning them out. So I managed to take out one of his henchmen finally with Flint shooting with his double shot, and another one of the Thunders knocks down another one of his henchmen. And then we get to hand-to-hand combat, and my clansman that charged in was able to hit and wound and kill a horse, and the ensuing roll results in the chariot going out of control. Now, this is one of the only ways that you can force the chariot to do what it doesn't want to do. But because we have these big canals and he's going across a bridge, and this chariot can't jump up from the canals, these are like 2.5 to 3 inches, these canals. He's stuck inside the canal if he goes off there, and that's what happens. He goes out of control and falls into the trench, and while it's not destroyed, it's effectively out of the game. He can back up, he can move forward, he can go underneath that bridge, but it's gonna take him forever to get to anywhere where he can do anything. I don't think he can get up off of there because there are no bridges that are big enough, and there's only stairs. So I don't have to worry about the chariot anymore, and this is an epic clansman. This clansman, these guys, I recently added them to my warband, and he takes out a friggin' chariot, the Carnival of Chaos chariot, the unkillable chariot, neutralizes it with a solo charge, which is awesome. And then we get to the vampire against the two slayers, and Bjorn smacks him into dust. This was epic. I had 3 attacks. I hit with 2 of them, wounded, critical, and then I think I rolled. You could see the 6 at the upper part of the screen. Those are my Lord Tremendous dice. They do so well for me. There's only rare times where they don't roll well. They roll so many 6s. It's amazing. And I took out the Vampire Lord. I was thrilled. Bjorn, who is the tougher of the 2 slayers, is just becoming a beast, and he now has notch on his belt. He has a little pouch with some vampire dust in it. And the clansman finishes off the direwolf as well, and that's just incredible. It's just a complete steamroll right now, and this is one of the reasons why I just didn't want to have a shooty army. I wanted to have some guys that can actually fight, because if I do get into hand-to-hand, then it's going to be a much more interesting battle. So the Carnival player absolutely refuses to rout, even though he completely could. So he decides to charge this clansman, and this is unfortunate. This epic clansman now has a uber character and a henchman now on him. And I don't mind this terribly, because if this guy doesn't survive, I'm going to have counter charges with my slayers, and my slayers are just hyped up right now after finishing off that vampire. So the undead player has routed. He's gone. All his remaining characters left the battlefield. So the Carnival player, who's taken some losses and now has to roll, although he rolled Snake Eyes, roll for routing, starts moving his guys towards the middle. He puts them all into this cover with the tree line here, hides a few of them, but he's got a large move. This mass of troops is going to be on top of me in no time, and that chariot is no longer blocking the bridge. So I've got to do something about it. I've got to thin out his ranks as quickly as possible. So the epic clansman who finished off or knocked that chariot made it basically combat ineffective, gets knocked out of action. No big surprise. Hopefully he won't die permanently. And then I reposition all my guys to meet what is going to be very long charges by the Carnival. Again, he can charge 12 inches. My best is 6. So I move up my screeners my 2 remaining clansmen and one of my beardlings to intercept any charges, and then I have my noble and my 2 slayers just sitting back and waiting. Come on, bring it on, guys. Bring it on. Charge, we're going to countercharge. But I have a lot of shooting. I have all my shooters sitting up in their perches, and they take off this character, the guy in the hat. He either had I think he had 4 or even maybe 8 attacks. He was frenzied with just with Nurgle's Rot too, which I didn't want to take any chances with. So I start unloading with some crossbows and take this guy out on the bridge, and I think I took one more guy out in the center. You can see there's one of his henchmen that got knocked on his back. But I managed to kill off one more guy in the tree line with all my other shooting. And when the rolls came for routing, he routs. And that was the game. This was an incredible game, an epic game as far as I'm concerned. Probably the best game that I've had. And I was up against incredible odds. And the reason for it is because my opponent clashed together. They were starting to send troops and were intending to move towards me and certainly do some serious damage against me, but by the time they got within range, they could not resist going after each other. Now, what's really, really great about this is that the Carnival player is over 100 points higher than me in Warband rating. It gave me a base 3 experience points across the board. And that boosted most of my guys up. I think everybody may have leveled. Here's what happened with my rolls. Okay, my Dwarf Noble picks up a wound. He actually rolls up for an additional wound. That's great. He's got the extra tough, so it's hard for him to get knocked out permanently. Bjorn, the Dwarf Slayer, who is credited with finishing off that vampire, was able to get an additional attack. But he's toughness 5 with 2 wounds, 4 initiative, and 2 attacks. So he had gotten, I think, strength last game. So now he's got also a 4 strength. So he's in good shape. My other Troll Slayer, Borg, he was able to pick up another skill. He got the Master Blades. And that's great because now he can parry if he equals, even if somebody rolls a 6, I can parry with a 6. And I can get 2. I think I can get 2 parries now, and I can reroll failed parries. My Dwarf Engineer levels up. He got the ability called Nimble, which means he can now move and fire. So he's got 2 shots with his crossbow. Now he can make a move and still shoot. The Beardling group levels up, and they got a +1 ballistic skill, which is good because their ballistic skill was a 2. Now it's a 3. I'm thrilled, and they're not maxed out. They still have one more level that they can get. And then we get to my clansmen. Now I have 3 clansmen, and this is one of the things I wanted to do. I wanted to break out the roles so that there was a greater chance of me getting Lads Got Talent. And the first role on my clansman who levels up is a Lads Got Talent, which is astounding. I'm thrilled. Turned out to be the one that had previously leveled up and got a +1 to his strength. And now I need to give him a skill. So I picked... I've got a lot of shooters, but this terrain can really, really make them ineffective depending on how the board is. So I wanted to make somebody who's a little more combat effective. I'm of course going to keep them with a pistol, maybe 2, so they could shoot while they're closing in on the enemy. But I wanted to make this guy more combat effective. So now I have 5 characters, and the other henchman, Dwarf Clansman, got a +1 to his strength, and then the third one gets a +1 to his weapon skill. So they're not maxed out either, so they can definitely improve. I like having the Dwarf Clansmen. A lot of people told me, go for more Thunderers. But you know what? I wanted somebody who was a little bit beefier. They got better stats. They cost more to replace if they die. But they're gonna last longer, and they're going to be more effective. So there you have it. Thigvald's Banhammers, victorious against the combined might of a uber-powerful Carnival team and an Undead group, mostly because they went after each other. If these guys had closed in on me and kind of left each other alone, I'm sure I would have been toast. But I hope you enjoyed the game. Tune in. We're going to do more, and have a great day, everybody.